he asked me if I had ever worked for a terrible leader. And I said that, I had. So he leaned over and got a piece of paper and he slid it across the desk with his rather fine fountain pen and asked me to write down a list of what does dreadful leadership look like, right?
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. 20-Minute Leaders is a proud supporter of Make-A-Wish Israel and Tech to Peace, and is in proud collaboration with Secret Chord Ventures, J Ventures, Riverside FM, Fusion VC, Birthright Excel, J Impact, Leap, Google for Startups, and Hippo, and in media partnership with CTech. Hello and welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Today we're talking to Antonio Garrido. He has over 25 years in senior leadership positions with world-class businesses. He is an expert in leadership transformation, shaping high-performance leaders out of highly stressed and overworked leaders. Garrido blends his own vast commercial experience with proven techniques to embed a unique brand of leadership development. He is a serial entrepreneur, successful business coach, author, charismatic speaker, and works with leaders from small private businesses right up to Fortune 60 size. He currently resides in France. Antonio Garrido, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Thank you so much for joining me all the way from beautiful, beautiful France. How are you?
I'm terribly well, thank you, Michael. And I really do. That was a very good pronunciation of the name. And thank you very much for your kind invitation. I do love your podcast. So thank you.
I really appreciate it. And I've been practicing the last name, as you know. Really, it's this is exactly why I do this show, for these conversations about leadership. What does it take to be a good leader? What does it mean even to be a good leader? You're the founder and president of My Daily Leadership. You're working with leaders across the board, all sorts of sizes of companies. And so I'm excited to learn as much as possible. Thank you again for being here.
Very good. Let's see what we can learn together, perhaps. How's that?
Wonderful. Well, your interest in leadership, let's start from there. Where does that stem from for you?
Oh, gosh, that's a great question. I think, I guess like most of your viewers, subscribers, listeners, we've probably all worked for some exceptional leaders. Let's start on the good side of the coin.
Hopefully.
We've probably all worked on really inspirational, really transformative, developmental, solutions-oriented, great individuals, right? The good guys. But then maybe some of us are also unfortunate enough to have worked for some less gifted, less talented leaders, shall we say. I've been incredibly fortunate to have worked for some outstanding leaders. And I'm incredibly old, as you can imagine. And over the years, when I first joined the world of work, I was fortunate to have some tremendous leaders and then some not so good. And I started to do a compare and contrast maybe 20 odd years ago. I've always believed that wisdom comes from evaluated experience, right? It's not as a consequence of time served. And I've always also believed that the only advantage we have today over yesterday is what we've learned. I mean, unless you've amassed some great wealth within the last 24 hours, right? It's about what have you learned. So I've always tried to keep a very open mind to learning opportunities that's not only in myself and my people, but also looking up and across the organization, not just kind of down and across, but also up. And when I eventually got to a position of leadership, I really tried hard to apply all the best characteristics of the good guys, and really tried hard to avoid the dreadful ones. I can give you a tremendous exercise for that, for your subscribers if they're interested. If you're interested in that, they're interested in that.
Of course, yes.
There's a very enlightening exercise for that. So then I became a coach, a trainer, a business development manager. Actually, I guess before that, I did a lot of consultancy. I did consultancy for the National Health Service in the UK, which is actually the largest company in the world. People don't realize that. They're actually bigger than the Chinese army, but that's a whole conversation for another day. So I did lots of interim consultancy, kind of being business doctor, being parachuted into, I don't want to say failing companies, let's say stressed companies, and turning them around, and then looking for my replacement, right? Looking for the permanent person to come and replace me. And I never really wanted that to be me. I wrote a couple of books, and then I wrote this book, which I've kind of been writing for 20 years, which is all about, what separates great from good in terms of leadership, and then how can we help the good leaders that want to become great leaders? Those that recognize that they're not the finished article, right? That they're not. I mean, we all know that none of us are perfect, right? So we get that. I read in Bill Clinton's autobiography where he talked about, the best you can do is hope to make 7 out of 10 good decisions, right? Because you're dealing with some really, really tricky stuff if you're the president of the United States. And I thought, is that good enough? Is 7 out of 10 good enough, right? Maybe if you're deciding what to do with the Israelis and Palestine, security of the state, maybe 7 out of 10 is good enough. But I thought, I'm not sure that's a high enough aspiration for leadership of companies who are trying to make the kinds of decisions that will future-proof themselves, their people, and their business, because that's their job, right? And I thought, well, 7 out of 10 seems okay, but it seems like a slightly low bar. So how can we help people do even better than that? No one's going to be perfect, but kind of raise the odds a little bit. And there's a big difference between 7 out of 10 and 9 out of 10, in terms of decision making. So I kind of put all of that together in this book. And we put together a leadership development program, which we can kind of talk about later, but shall I come back to that exercise I was going to mention earlier? Would that be a good place to start?
I was about to ask for that. Yeah.
So you'll notice that I just go off on tangents. I don't think
they're great. Go for it.
It's straight lines. Well, this was a lesson that I was taught by one of my first ever leaders. I had been given a fairly senior role in an organization, and honestly, I wasn't ready for it. I was kind of punching above my weight, but it was kind of circumstances, and I was the right person for the job, kind of politically, but I'm not sure I was entirely the right person for the job in terms of capability. But anyway, fact of the matter is I got the job. And this leader, who was tremendous chairman, asked me to pop along to his office. I found a handwritten note on my desk. I'm telling you, I'm absolutely ancient, Michael. So this was before email, all of that kind of stuff, right? So there was a note on my desk that asked me to pop along to the chairman. So I popped along there, and we sat down across his rather grand and imperious looking desk, and he asked me if I had ever worked for a terrible leader. And I said that, I had. So he leaned over and got a piece of paper, and he slid it across the desk with his rather fine fountain pen and asked me to write down a list of what does dreadful leadership look like, right? And I wrote 4 or 5 things, and your subscribers can easily imagine what they may look like, right? Somebody that micromanages, somebody that plays favorites, somebody that instructs, somebody that is very, let's say, blows hot and cold, inconsistent, somebody that makes poor decisions as everybody else, externalizes all the issues, all of that stuff, right? We all know what dreadful looks like. So I wrote 4 or 5 things and slid that piece of paper back, and he said, terrific, write some more. So I wrote some more things, and again, you can imagine what they might be. Doesn't develop people, doesn't develop themselves, is very tactical, not strategic, doesn't live the vision, ineffective, and all of those kind of things. He said, terrific, write down some more. I'm thinking, crikey. So I'm starting to kind of scrape the bottom of the barrel. Anyway, came out with some more things. And if any of your leaders or listeners want to play that game, write down about 20 things. So I got down to about 20 things, and I looked at it. He said, that's right. That's exactly right. That's what dreadful leadership is. I couldn't have put it better myself. Terrific, thought I. Strange exercise. He then passed a piece of paper back and said, will you do me a big favor? So I said, yeah. He said, whilst ever you're working here, can you promise to never do any of these things? Right? Whilst ever you're here. I said, yeah, okay. And he said, now carry that piece of paper with you at all times. Every time I see you in the corridor, I might want to talk to you about your list. And so he had us all imagine. Oh, by the way, I then discovered about 3 months later that he did the same exercise with every single board member. Right? Because we all have a vision of great. We all have a vision of dreadful. And so we were all constantly trying to avoid that. Oh, so cool. So then anytime anything went wrong, right? Because things do, at the board meeting, the chairman would come in and ask us to all get out our pieces of paper and say, where is it that we failed such that this thing has happened, right? Or this thing has materialized. So that got me started on this principle of evaluated experience, on this principle that none of us are perfect, none of us are great. Let's start to think on a really, really consistent basis, how could I do better? Right? What's my leadership report card for today? It's not going to be A+ every day because it just can't be. And so there are days when it's going to be A- or a B+ or even a B-. And then we either just kind of say, well, hey, such is life. Nobody's perfect. That's it. Or we say, well, that's not good enough. Right? So what should or could I have done? Or what should I not have done? Or if I had my time to live the day, it's kind of Groundhog Day, right? If I had the opportunity to do it all again, what would I do more of or less of or whatever? And that principle then led to, we should be able to record all of these things. Is this useful, by the way? Are you okay if I just kind of ramble away?
100%. 100%. Okay. This is awesome.
So I gave a talk a few years ago to maybe 400 or 500 leaders. And I gave the talk and I said, okay, chaps. And by the way, chaps is, that's kind of like, and, that could be anything, right? So I said, okay, chaps, honesty time, right? Let's just all have a real good bite of a reality sandwich. Who here, which of the leaders here, could a show of hands, please, who has some leadership blind spots? Okay. And thankfully, every single hand in the audience went up. Thankfully, because actually I've done that a few times. Yep. That's not always the case, but this is a good bunch, right? So everybody put their hands up, recognizing that they all had leadership blind spots. Terrific, said I. Just take a minute now, if you would, and write down what they are, right? So, and now, here's the thing. We don't know what they are, because if we knew what they were, then it's a blind spot, right? If we knew what those blind spots were, then they wouldn't be blind. So
they weren't blind.
I guess it was a contrivance. It was a slight trick question, just to get them to realize, oh, crikey, I must have some blind spots. I have no idea what they might be. And so if leaders' responsibility is to future-proof themselves, future-proof their business, future-proof their people and their business, then they have to first kind of recognize, well, where are their weaknesses? Where do they come on that list, right? And it's interesting, isn't it? But most people, they kind of think they're a good driver, right? In my experience, when you ask people, are you a good driver? Most people say, oh yeah, way above average. Well, 100% of people can't be above average, right? Just the maths doesn't work. Most leaders, when you talk to them, you say, where are you on the leadership scale from kind of, dreadful to rock star, right? They always go, oh yeah, I'm towards the good end of the scale. It's okay, terrific. And where are these weaknesses? Well, it's difficult to say, and I don't know. And the problem is, nobody tells them. No one comes into their office and goes, tap, tap, tap on the door. You got 5 minutes, boss? And they go, yeah, my door's always open to you. And then they sit down and they go, okay, well, thanks for that. I just thought I'd spend 20 minutes with you telling you how dreadful you've been over the last 6 months. I mean, that doesn't happen, right? It doesn't happen very often. And asking people to do that, hey guys, you know me, I'm always open and the door's always open. And, if ever you feel that, I'm not doing such a tremendous job, come and tell me, which is a bit like saying, hey, can all the turkeys vote for Thanksgiving, please? And turkeys tend not to want to vote for Thanksgiving. So they don't tend to do that. I saw a tremendous kind of tiny interview with George Bush, or ex-President Bush, the elder one, not the younger one.
Senior, yeah.
And he was, he just finished a Pro-Am golf tournament. They still call him Mr. President, even though he was kind of ex-president. And somebody stuck a camera in his face as he came off the 18th green. He hadn't been the president for about 5 or 6 years. And somebody, as I said, this reporter stuck a camera in his face and said, how was the golf, Mr. President? And he thought for a second and he said, probably what I think is the smartest thing that he's ever said. And he said, it's amazing how many games of golf he's lost since not being the president of the United States. And I thought, well, that's a good point. Because whilst you're the president of the United States, your golf's improved somehow, right?
Sure.
And I'm not sure that's entirely true. So anyway, I was putting together all of these things and I thought, do you know what all leaders should do? If they want to raise their self-awareness and if they want to figure out if wisdom does come from evaluated experience, where are they going to keep a record of all of this? How are they going to evaluate their experience? How are they going to get people to be more collaborative, including themselves? And then what would the best leadership model look like? And I was putting all of this stuff together and I thought to myself, you know what? I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to jump on, Google. There are other search engines available, of course, and find a leadership journal. Right, some kind of place where there's journals for everything, right? And there wasn't one, or there was a couple, but I mean, just too dreadful for words. So I thought, let's put together a journal for leaders that covers specifically these principles of insight and wisdom and if you ask lots of leaders or even individuals and you say to people, hey, listen, what does success look like to you, right? And then you get a whole range of answers between money, some people say, which kind of leads, it boils down to, if I can die with lots of toys, I win. So there's that as a kind of principle. Other people say it's kind of reaching their goals, which I also don't subscribe to. For me, I think leadership, or success rather, is reaching your maximum potential, whatever that is. Now, not everyone can reach their maximum potential. And I think, but if you can figure out how to reach your maximum potential, then that's what success would look like. Now, there are some people who are here, right, let's say, and their maximum potential is here and they're down here. And then there is a big delta, there's a big gap between where they are and where they could be. And that kind of leads to dissatisfaction and feelings of frustration and so on. And then there are other people whose maximum potential is here and they're right here, and therefore they feel fulfilled and happy. And, you don't have to be the leader of, a Fortune 60 organization to feel fulfilled, to feel that, you are there there or thereabouts. And you look at a lot of leaders and you think, look at all the things that you've achieved, and they're still unhappy because they, it's not just money or fame, but they're unhappy because they feel that they could, that there's still a gap between where they are and where they could be, where their potential is. So anyway, putting all of these things together, and I built this model of leadership development based on self-awareness, based on a leadership model that most leadership models are kind of, they're based on some but not all of what great leadership is about. So what's great leadership about? Well, it's about developing people. So it's people development, which is a tricky thing, right? That's helping others reach their full potential. It's about being great mentors. Very misunderstood principle with most leaders. They think that mentorship is coaching, and it's not the same thing. Understanding people's motivation. They seem to forget the ropey ones, right? That other people come to work for different reasons than themselves, right? Most people come to work because, maybe they've got a mortgage and the kids need some shoes on their feet. But whilst the leadership team come to work because they've made promises to the city, and who knows, right? So we've got this people development thing. Also, most good leaders are good at communicating and coordinating and having people cooperate. But the best leaders are really, really good at encouraging a culture of collaboration. If you ever take the time to look at how Lego was saved, it's an amazing story of collaboration. Anyway, so we have this people development model, and also then company development. What most leaders, the good ones, they think about company development, they just think, short, medium, and long-term plans, right? And planning. But, it's more than that, because it's also developing the vision, mission, goals. It's improving company processes. And it's also making the hardest decision about, do we industrialize, scale, pivot, refresh? What do we do about these kind of things that are maybe a little bit broken? So there's some company development stuff too. And the journaling process and the program that we've put together deals with all of these things. And then the self-development, because do you know what I find quite amazing? How many organizations I've been into and I've said, tell me about, personal development reviews and all of that kind of stuff with your organization. And the enlightened ones say, oh yeah, we have one every quarter and we do them and we live them, and nothing to do with, salary. It's not a salary issue. It really is helping our people develop, and they're all on development plans. And then we don't just put them in a drawer once a year and then kind of forget them. I say, oh, terrific. Can I see yours? And then they go, right, kind of shuffle around, look at their feet.
Sure.
But they kind of don't walk that talk. They don't walk that talk. So it's about what's their own personal learning path? Where are their leadership blind spots that we talked about? Building their own emotional intelligence, and also solving problems with tools and mental models, as opposed to just relying on their experience, right? So anyway, whole conversation about tools and mental models.
Really, I mean, Antonio, I have to say that this is so incredible, because I think that at the end, first of all, I need to book you for another episode, because we're just getting started, and I think this needs to be a series on leadership. But I think I think that what you touched on, we're talking about, leaders of large companies or any size companies, but really we're talking about leadership in life, right? And when we're talking about maximizing potential or reaching or sort of aiming for Maslow's hierarchy of needs and sort of the self-fulfillment, everybody has different potential. And really that's where you get the satisfaction from, the fulfillment from reaching our potential. Otherwise, if you have that gap, you feel dissatisfied. And it sounds like this exercise that you're talking about, I see two sides to it. One is sort of identifying what is important for you as a leader, or where you might go astray from personal experiences, and improving on those, but really it's that improvement aspect. What did I learn to become better? And how do I make sure that I'm creating an environment of accountability, which I'm both allowing myself to be open to it, but also allowing others to provide me that feedback. So Antonio, really just really incredible conversation. Thank you so much. We're already scheduling again because I need to continue exactly from where we left off, but I have to stay true to the format. And so I really appreciate your time. And this was just so inspiring.
Good. I've enjoyed it. I'm sorry if I just kind of rambled on. I just got a lot to say. So bring me back. And
it was, I didn't want to stop it. It was wonderful. Thank you so much.